the 20, Johnson back, pressure on, throwing over the middle, complete to the 10, touchdown Williams.
Welcome to the Crowdsign College Football Show podcast. I'm Kevin Trimble, and once again I have our guest, college football insider Brett McMurphy from Stadium Network. And Brett, how are you today?
Good. Great to talk to you again, Kevin.
Hey, you too. Well, we've gone through 7 weeks of the college football season, and as we track you on Twitter, we track you on your website, and what we've seen is you've got your top 4. You say your college football playoff, as of right now, Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Notre Dame, and I think everybody else agrees with that pretty much across the board. But then you have some January 1 bowls, the other ones closing, moving up, Texas, Michigan, Oregon, and Oklahoma. My question to you is, which one of those, or which 2 of those, or is there some other outliers that could find their way in to this playoff when they make that final announcement in December? What do you think?
Well, I'll even go outside of that group there because obviously I think any of those teams right now in the top 5 or 6, if they win out, they're going to get in because they're going to leapfrog teams or they're going to beat teams that are in front of them. One of the teams that's currently not inside the top 10 that I think has a real possibility is the Florida Gators. And I never thought I would have said that before the season. I certainly thought I would never say that after that disappointing loss at home to Kentucky. But Florida has really looked like a different team these past few weeks. I mean, they've put up a ton of points early in the season against Colorado State and at Tennessee. They won a slugfest at Mississippi State, the impressive win against LSU, and, coming back at Vanderbilt, which was definitely a flat spot for them. Now the Gators get a week off before the world's largest cocktail party in Jacksonville against Georgia. And Florida, right now in the AP poll, they come in at number 11. But if Florida beats Georgia, and then they've got at Florida State, the regular season finale, it's a down Florida State team, but certainly that they can't overlook that game. Anything can happen in that game. But if Florida can beat Georgia and get to the SEC title game, obviously Kentucky's got to lose somewhere because they lose their head-to-head with the Gators, then I think Florida's got a real shot. Now, they've got to beat, the biggest bully on the block, the Alabama Crimson Tide. But if Florida wins out with wins over Georgia and Alabama, there is absolutely no way the Gators are not in the college football playoff. So that's one team I would look at outside of the top 10. Of the group that you mentioned that's not currently in the top 4, I mean, I think it's pretty simple for Michigan. Michigan started the year with 5 games against teams in the preseason top 25. That has not changed. They go at Michigan State this week. Can Jim Harbaugh finally beat Mark D'Antonio? He's on 1-2 against the Spartans since he came back as head coach of the Wolverines. And even if they do get past Michigan State, then they've got to get Penn State at home. And then obviously the regular season finale at Ohio State. If Michigan, again, like Florida, if Michigan can win out, a 12-1 Big Ten champion Michigan Wolverine team will absolutely be in the college football playoff as well. Certainly the sledding is a lot tougher for Michigan with a lot more quality opponents than Florida.
Well, I think what's interesting, Brett, is the people in Lexington, Kentucky at Kroger Field on November 3rd when the Bulldogs come into UK. They may have something to say about that, but you're right. Obviously, a lot of things, a lot of dominoes have to fall. I still think about the Big 12. We talk about Oklahoma as an outlier, but, Texas, Oklahoma, WVU all got to play. And that could be some kind of round robin. And, Texas, Oklahoma could play twice. West Virginia could play either one of them twice. That one is, to me, the most interesting. Still don't think they're going to get through that unscathed. Well, let me ask you on this.
I agree. I think what the Big 12 needs is they need somebody of those 3 teams to win out and win out convincingly. I think the best shot for the Big 12 would be for Texas or Oklahoma because West Virginia had the game canceled. They only have 11 games. That shouldn't be held against them, but the selection committee will look at them as having one less opportunity to play, so that could impact them. For Oklahoma, they lose the 3-point game to Texas. So if they get a rematch against Texas in the Big 12 title game and say they dominate the Texas Texas team, I think that would gain them a lot of points in the minds of the selection committee. But again, the biggest thing is for the Big 12 and obviously the Pac-12 as well, although I think the Pac-12 is completely out. They need help. They need chaos in these other leagues, specifically the SEC, the Big Ten, and the ACC, so they can get back up there. But certainly, I agree with you. I think if Oklahoma runs the table, gets to 12-1, and can avenge that loss to Texas, I think the Sooners can return to the college football playoffs.
Well, I can't disagree with that because I know one thing. I married into a West Virginia family, and you know what? They always get upset whether they're winning or losing, but I don't think they have a chance. Oklahoma's about the only one in the Pac-12. It's got to be Oregon winning out and winning big every single game for them to even have a chance with a lot of other chaos. And as we said, people's attention will transfer from one coast to the other. But speaking of transfers, you posted the other day, we were talking about the transfer portal. And you and I talked about this in week 1. We said, hey, okay, there's a new rule on red shirts, play 4 games, and up to 4 games, and you're technically a red shirt. And then you have graduate transfers that A, red shirt, and B, can play immediately somewhere, Kelly Bryant, for example. What do you see right now with this new transfer portal, or let's just call it? Is it the free agency waiver wire, more importantly?
Yeah, it really looks like it. If people haven't seen it, you can check out my Twitter account, Brett @_McMurphy. And an assistant coach texted me a picture of it and said, hey, here's what the NCAA transfer portal looks like. Unfortunately, this transfer portal or list of transfer players is not available to the general public, but I did give you kind of a sneak peek into basically this is what all of these schools are looking at. If you've got a kid that is transferring, he puts his name, the school is required, once they're notified that the player wants to transfer, they're required, I believe it's 48 hours, maybe 72 hours, that they must input this player's name into this transfer portal. And like you said, Kevin, it literally looks like a free agent wire. It lists the kid's name. It says when, the date that he decided he was going to transfer, obviously the school, the sport, the conference. And then the coaches are able to get email addresses, contact information for all of these kids so they can contact them directly and make their pitch and try to get these guys to come to their school. So it is a different time in college athletics now, and certainly this gives these players the best opportunity because now any coach that wants to know who's available, hey, if we need a wide receiver, if we need a quarterback, there is now a website that's available through the NCAA for the membership schools where they can simply go over all these players, almost kind of like drafting your fantasy football team is what it looks like. But yeah, we are in different times in college athletics.
Well, as you know, Brett, history tells us people don't change, environments change. And 18 to 22-year-old young men all still want the same thing. They want to go to the next level. They want to be the best that they can at some level, obviously be successful. Does that have a monetary figure attached to it? Yeah, it does. And I say that all they're doing is adapting to their environment. And the environment allows them now to play within the rules. As some of my buddies, when I play golf with and I don't play well, they like to say, hey, I didn't make up the rules, I just play by them. Well, thing is they're following within a specified protocol that if they're allowed to do it, who can blame them? Now, going back to that still, I'd like to look back. Like I said, I love to do the research back to about 2012. So let's talk 6 years ago. Who are the top 200 high school football players coming out in the year, 6 years ago, and where are they now? I think the stat is 99.1% of all college football players don't go to the professional level. So we'll see if those decisions, are good decisions, or are they in their best interest, their family's best interest, but maybe not the school's best interest. And as you said before, if a coach is making, $3 million in an institution and somebody says, hey, we're going to hire you and pay you $7 million, he's not thinking twice. He's gone. Well, why can't that young 5-star quarterback who's got to sit behind somebody else, follow suit? So we'll see how that goes, and I think this waiver wire will be interesting, especially as we get to December. And here's what I want to talk lastly, though, Brett. We talk about upsets. You had some upsets the last couple of weeks. You called them. And on our show this week, I was so happy I called Michigan State was going to beat Penn State because of history, because they had been 6-1-1 against Penn State in games played not in the month of November. And Coach told me he loved my research, but he called me if he needed help with a crossword puzzle. So if you look at our Week 8 show, I showed Coach, and I said, well, Coach, I really appreciate that, and I need help with crossword puzzle. And Wanacross is a name for the defenders of the nation of Sparta, and it was the Spartans. So we had a lot of fun with that. But, history does whisper. It doesn't repeat itself. So with that said, who's your upset for this Week 8 of college football, Brett?
Well, I'm actually going to go against the team that you went against last week also. I'm going to go against Penn State, because you look at the mindset of this Penn State team. This could be the toughest coaching challenge this year for James Franklin when they play at Indiana. And I know what you're thinking. How is it a challenge playing at Indiana? Well, just let's go inside the mind of a Penn State player. 3 weeks ago, you play at Ohio State, whiteout, national TV. You've got the game won. You're up double digits in the fourth quarter. You lose by 1 point in the last minute. Crushing defeat. Then you've got an off week, kind of to regroup, regenerate. Then you play Michigan State at home. You're leading that game. You lose in the final minute to Michigan State. So now you've lost 2 games by a total of 5 points. And now you go at Indiana, the team that just got ran over by Iowa. And basically, this is a huge letdown spot. And also, Penn State has Iowa the following week, kind of a sandwich situation, if you will. Indiana can put up a lot of points. They hung with Ohio State, deep into the third quarter, early in the fourth quarter before the Buckeyes pulled away. Indiana can score a lot of points. They've had trouble holding teams down, but if Penn State comes in here flat, if the offense is lethargic, maybe the Hoosiers pick up a big win for Coach Tom Allen.
Well, you heard it here first on the Crowd's Eye College Football Show podcast. Brett McMurphy has Indiana over Penn State. And I will tell you, I've got Purdue beating Ohio State, Jeff Brom, West Lafayette. That place is going to go crazy. And if there's any, example of a trap game, that could be it. We'll see. Could be wrong. There's a lot of heavy hearts going on and looking around in that Columbus locker room. And as Jeff Brom likes to say, boiler up. And as you know, you beat Ohio State, they forget all about Eastern Michigan. So with that said, Brett, we're into Week 8 of college football. It's been wonderful. I look forward to talking to you this week. I'm going to look forward to maybe put my name on that transfer tracker. I got a year left of eligibility, I think. So we'll see how that goes. So I look forward to it.
I've seen your 40 time. I don't know if you want to do that.
Oh, that's true. You could time me with a sundial. So, well, listen. Good luck to you this week, and it's an exciting week, and I look forward to following you. And go to thecrowdline.com, compete in our contest, and go to thecrowdline.com and download our podcast as well, and listen to Brett McMurphy and I talk about college football. Once again, it's Week 8 of college football. Brett, I look forward to it. We're out here.